Mic check.
Mic
One,
check.
2, 1, 2. Is that you, Mike?
Ah.
Right. Good day.
Good afternoon, everyone, or morning, or evening, wherever it is where you are.
Yes. And we'll be continuing on with our development of Freeplay mode today. After a splendid go at Beetle Uprising yesterday, last night, and then yesterday day we were working on. We did day-night cycle.
Day-night cycle.
And we also did a bit more of the spiders
Work on
web
the
stuff.
the spiders.
So today I wanted to make a start on difficulty settings, which could be a bit tricky and it could require some thinking. So watch out for my thinking face appearing.
Yeah.
It looks a bit pained.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks like he's having a difficult time on the toilet when,
Yes.
when he's thinking. Yeah. Okay, right. Hi guys. Hi to Game Kill. Hi Ferrin. Hi Mako again. Hi Torback Junior. How are we all doing today?
Right.
Hi Zoe's 55 or Zozy.
Okay. So where were we yesterday? Right. You'll be pleased to hear the mini maps back. Although I have noticed the colours on the mini maps no longer seem to be working.
I think
nest types.
Matt's doing some quite deep changes to the code at the moment,
Yeah.
isn't he? So things are going to be broken here and there, but I think you can work around them.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be too bad. Those numbers coming up, by the way, is what the difficulty is currently set to. I just made it printed out, so we've got a starting point.
Bro Gamer for the Bros, hello. Gura is asking estimate for free play mode. Likely next month.
Yeah, we're aiming for next month.
Yeah. Yeah, but you'll be able to see how John's doing with it, because you're going to carry on streaming probably once a week, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm gonna do my best. I won't always be able to manage it, but I mean, this week's been a bit of an exception because we've had some extra time to work on it. But yeah, we'll keep streaming. Okay, so yeah, we've got all sorts going on at the minute. Right, so this difficulty value is what's important. I've just got it printing out constantly. And it's not just difficulty value, it's also difficulty type. So if we have a look at difficulty type. Okay, so I've got all these different types that I want to implement. So we'll go about them one at a time. And all they're going to do is change this difficulty value at a different rate. Now, if I open like Paint, it's a very technical description of something. Okay, so assuming we have a difficulty of, I just draw a square. Yeah, it's great tool this. Right, okay, so assuming this is a difficulty of like 100%, so max difficulty, that's 0%.
People would be amazed at how useful just something like MS Paint can be sometimes, just to quickly visualise something.
Okay, so assuming, right, so you've got the option to set what starting difficulty you want it on. I think I might allow you to go above 100%, but not as a starting difficulty. So you can even go even higher. But okay, so the different difficulty types, we've got constant. So those of you who know a little bit about graphs would know that constant is that. If I can keep the line straight. So basically, the difficulty remains the same. Right, this along the bottom is time, by the way. So this is difficulty. God, my writing.
I mean, your handwriting is not best at the best of times, John.
Yeah.
When are you trying to do this?
Okay, so that's difficulty and time. So what I really need is. What I need is a point at which I'm aiming for things to hit their maximum difficulty. if we're going in ramp. So I think maximum difficulty should be achieved after about 6 hours of gameplay.
I think that
is my
feels
vague
about right.
feeling.
Yeah.
So let's assume the maximum on this is 6 hours. So the other thing to notice is that if for example we say ramp, and if the game mode was on ramp, and you started with a difficulty of 0%, you'd expect the graph to look like that. So difficulty was at 50% at 3 hours in. However, if we start at a different difficulty, we've got a question now. Do we make it go up as if... So say we started at 50% difficulty, do we end up on 150% difficulty after 6 hours? Or do we end up at 100% and fix that? Yeah. My gut says we keep the same rate of increase, because if you set it harder difficulty, you're probably not expecting it to get more difficult slower. You probably just want more of a challenge.
Yeah.
So my feeling is that if you start with a difficulty of 50%, you expect to end on a difficulty of 150%. So something like that. That would be ramp. So constant, ramp. So ramp will have a constant rate of increase. Constant will have just a constant value. So it's like velocity and acceleration. It's exactly the same equation. So what's the other ones? So we got constant, ramp. Now spikes is going to be constant, so there will be an underlying constant value. But every now and then, and I've got another question now. Is it every now and then with a random pace? Is it randomly decided every now and then?
You want it random, otherwise you start to anticipate it.
Yeah.
Personally.
Okay, so spikes, maybe there's a chance every minute or so that it makes a decision to have a spike. And a spike in difficulty, constant difficulty, you probably want an increase of 50%.
You want it just spike up like that. You don't want it to.
Or maybe it's a random value between a certain set of values, so up to 100% higher. So it could be we could get a random spike determined that all of a sudden went up like 30% like that, and then maybe
for maybe a minute and then back down. Or...
Yeah, it's probably doesn't need to be that long, and then for maybe then goes back down to the constant value, and then maybe 10 minutes later we get another one that goes up 70%. So it's relatively unpredictable. So that's the concept of spikes. Now then there's ramp with spikes. So ramp with spikes, we're talking so if it was from 0%, we're talking we've got the ramp that's constantly going, but every now and then it will do that for a bit, and probably during that time it will continue moving up at its ramp rate, and then back down again, and then see, I actually foresee ramp with spikes being the most common one. So there's a constant increase in difficulty as you're playing, but the spikes actually hit a hit some peaks, so you get some unpredictability with it. So that's ramp with spikes. There's a couple of others as well. Scale with colony. Scale with colony will be, rather than time, this bottom one becomes colony size. I'll just draw the world's worst ant with these lines just to represent colony size.
Is that...
This is an ant. You can tell why I'm not the artist in the game, can't you? God, it's difficult to draw with this. Okay, there we are. That's an ant, honest.
If you do random, could there be a spike right at the start? I guess so, but you probably want to make sure that you give it the player at least a few minutes to set up a bit.
I mean, you probably won't be attacked. I probably won't. There might be a setup time. So maybe that's wise. Maybe at the beginning we.
Well, as much as anything though, nothing's going to be able to get into your nest until you open it. Isn't that right?
Yeah, probably
you're going to have to dig yourself out anyway.
Probably in Freeplay.
Yeah. So you probably want to give the player a nominal amount of food underground, and then they're going to have to open up to carry on. Yeah.
So difficulty will just scale. We how we interpret the difficulty as well is difficult, because as you know from playing the game, once you have a big colony size, it's not like if you have 5 ants you can deal with 2 Devil's Coach Horse, then 10 ants can deal with 4 Devil's Coach Horse. The more ants you have, the easier it becomes to deal with the smaller the amount of creatures.
We have an issue here in that once you've got a really strong colony, throwing more enemies at the player is just going to give them more food.
Yeah.
So this has to be thought about as well.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. Okay. And yeah, then random. I don't think do I need to draw random? Random is probably going to be steps. So it will stay at a certain level for a time period, and then randomly do another level, just so that level's meaningful. Oops. Okay, so we've got a vague idea of what we want to do with these values.
Hey, maybe towards the end of the game, more ant attacks, and things that don't give food. More attacks by things that don't drop food.
Yeah, possibly.
I think makes sense. Just make it a bit trickier.
Yeah. We need to consider that when we get there.
Yeah, I think we are going to get some people who find an infinite setup anyway. That's likely to happen.
Yeah.
No matter what we do.
Hopefully Uber creatures can break that sort of thing.
That's a good point.
They can be powerful enough to just wreck shop, and they don't necessarily have to give you more food.
No, a tiger give the same amount as a normal tiger beetle, but be 10 times as strong.
Yeah. And it just like records your achievement of killing them.
Mm-hmm. I keep thinking, the only thing I think of with the Ubers is how to make them visually different. I mean, they could have a particle effect or something, anything.
Yeah, we'll come up with something. Might be able to tint them slightly redder or something like that.
Yeah.
We shall see. Okay.
That's Matt's job.
Yeah.
So I guess when we do the German translation, they'll have to be called super creatures.
I think keeping them as Uber creatures is fine, to be honest. It's one of the things that won't be translated.
Hi, Tony Bjorn. Glad to have you with us again.
Is it Torbjorn? Or...
Tony
Bjorn.
Yeah.
Torbjorn's from Overwatch.
Cannibalistic ants, maybe. Not many ants are cannibalistic. We're not going to... enemy ants and...
Not of their own species.
Yeah, not of their own species, or at least their own colony.
Lots of them eat other species of ants.
Yeah.
And lots of them raid each other's colonies, right?
Yeah, no, there's no point in... it causes a lot of problems for us if we have ants as a food source as well, so that won't happen. Only the bigger stuff.
Okay, so we've got a switch here. So essentially, this is happening every second, and it's just all this is going to do is recalculate the new value. Now, constant doesn't need to do anything, because the value will be set originally, and that's that. Ramp. What we need to do now is work out. So we said we wanted it to ramp up to the maximum amount after 6 hours. So I'll create a value called.
How about 6 hours plus or minus a random amount of time?
Yeah, that's not a bad call.
Yeah.
So we've got to calculate a ramp rate at the beginning. Actually, you'd need to do that. So let's have a look at the difficulty setup here.
Devil Kitten says, "Here's an idea. Maybe we can make enemy colonies further away so they can discover us late in the game." You were talking about things like maybe having enemy colonies like come up, like generate randomly at some point.
Yeah, it's a possibility of having them like jump in and jump out colonies, so a colony just gets reset. Like maybe if you wipe out a colony, there's a chance it will spawn in later. But anyway, enemy colonies are phase 2 of this.
Yeah,
anyway.
that'll be after the initial release, but they are planned. So they discover you later in the game. I don't know how Liam's going around doing the AI, but I'm assuming that there'll be like an aggression setting for them, so that how aggressive they are in the AI, and that gets ramped up at certain times when they want to expand and stuff like that.
Yeah, possibly. I'm not in control of that.
John is not doing the skirmish AI. That's Liam. So we see what he comes up with basically.
Okay, so I need to.
Welcome, Claudia. We're doing. John today is working on all the various difficulty settings and scales for the free play mode. He's making a start on it. Andrew, do you have approximate release date for the primitive version of free play mode? Probably next month. Yeah. John is just going to carry on working on it.
I mean, I want to get enough in. I don't want to overdo the amount of stuff that's in it, but I want to get enough in to make it
worth playing.
Yeah, worth playing. And also, it needs some we need some degree of balancing in it. Else it just won't be fun.
We'll run it by our beta testers certainly.
Okay, so we need to set a ramp rate, which we said was based on going up 100% during the time period. So we're talking about full ramp time. I'm going to make it a random float in range. Okay, so full ramp time is the time it's going to take for the ramp to reach the top. Now, I wanted it 6 hours, but Mike suggested maybe giving it plus or minus maybe half an hour.
Yeah.
Just to give some variation on how long it takes to ramp up. So, how many seconds are in 6 hours?
It's
or 5.5
hours. 60 times 5, isn't it?
60 seconds times 60 minutes. So that's how many seconds are in 1 hour.
Yeah, 3600. Isn't it? Yeah.
So times 5.5.
Maybe make a scale for that. Let each person choose. Yes. It's all going to be very adjustable. This.
What? So talking about allowing someone to choose the rate at which it ramps up.
You'd add it would make sense. You'd add a dial at the start, wouldn't you? Which you'd call it, rate of difficulty ramp. So maybe that's one more thing to add.
Get it down in the ideas list.
Yes, I shall write it down in a list, and we can correlate it with the thing later. Difficulty ramp scale option.
Okay, so these are the seconds in 6.5 hours. 2, 3, 4, 0, 0. Okay. So that's the amount of time it's going to take to hit max. Maybe we'll make that adjustable by the player.
We'll see. That can come back. You can come back and do that at a later time.
Yeah.
Andrew says, once you beat all the missions on highest difficulty, not much to do. Yeah, kind of of course the idea with free play mode here is to give a lot more longevity to the game. So you can just play it casually if you like, or you could set yourself a real challenge, make it really difficult. You're absolutely right. Obviously, there's more levels on the way, Andrew, so don't worry. But yeah, you're totally right. In the meantime, this is the game mode for people who want to play a bit more.
Yeah. The idea is that you'll be able to play this for long periods of time. Okay, so now we need to set a ramp rate based on the full ramp time. So if that's how many seconds it needs to hit maximum, so that's the amount of seconds it needs to rise from 0 to 100%. So the ramp rate thinking phase. I just need to do. I just need to divide 1 by that, right? Yeah. Yeah. I just need to divide 1. It just needs to be.
This is what John was like when he was doing his aerospace degree. Just need to do that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it's literally just 1 over that.
The inverse function.
Yeah. So we're splitting 1, which is 100%. 1 is 100%. 0 is 0%. 1.5 is 150%. So that's how much the difficulty increases by each time. Now I need to multiply the change in time. So back over to our change in time. What's a majigger? I need to multiply that.
Are you guys the only developers of the game, or do we have more people? I'm not a dev, by the way. I'm the community person, so I'm looking after Twitch chat for John at the moment. Along with John, there's 2 other guys. There's Matt and Liam. Matt's full time on the project. Liam is part time on it again, like John is at the moment, but John will soon be going full time. Will players be able to make maps procedural at some point? So each play through a free mode unique. We can't really do that with our setup. Procedurally generated maps doesn't really work for us. But what we can do, John has been working this week on a system he's called Landmarks, whereby on the pre-existing map that he's making, he has set locations where random things can spawn. So that does have quite a lot of random variation to the game, and it will be different every time you play it.
So we're mixing things up as much as we can within the current framework of the game.
The rules, yeah, the current framework and the way things are set up. You must have had it hard. Very few devs with very demanding customers. We don't mind customers being demanding. That means that they're enjoying what they're seeing.
Yeah, I actually would say that people have been very patient as well on the whole.
Yeah, it's only the odd few that don't get it. The vast majority of people have just said, take your time, make something amazing, and we really appreciate that.
Okay, so it's the change multiplied by the ramp rate. Okay, so that's the ramp. Okay, so that should basically be that. If I run the game now, that value should be ticking up very slowly, but you have to remember that value is going up over the course of how long did I say? 6 hours?
6 hours.
So
plus or minus a nominal amount.
So yeah, it's gonna be a very small increase. 3, 4. So I don't even know if that will show up there yet. Check difficulty value. plus.
Right, we think we'll be streaming until about 4:30 today, guys, by the way, because this is my last day of my visit to John in Liverpool, so I do have to leave at some point.
Mm-hmm. I'm guessing that's ticking, but it's difficult to say. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna introduce a much smaller random float.
Can we make a map making community here? It's not as simple as that, Devil Kitten. We'd have to make a map maker first. The one that John uses to do the maps is
just
not
the full game. It's just the engine.
It's just the Unreal 4 engine, which it's not made for general public consumption. We maybe one day we can do a map maker, but it would be a big chunk of work and development time to do that. But absolutely, as John said yesterday, the games that do have community, created content, do tend to live a lot longer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something we could maybe consider for the future, but we've got a lot of other things to get done in the meantime.
So that should be a more visible change on that value, because that's just 5,000 seconds to get it to the maximum. This will at least tell me if it's ticking at all. I can't remember how many decimal places floating point numbers go to, but it doesn't look like it's ticking at all, to be honest. I bet I've done something stupid. Full ramp time. Set ramp rate.
Maximum value of 2 to the power of 31, John.
What? Oh.
-1.
Yeah, so it's pretty big. It's a pretty long number. I'm wondering whether the ramp rate's been set up wrong.
Why does the Steam message say Freeplay mode now then? It doesn't. It says Freeplay mode development now, is what it says. That's what we're doing. We're developing it now on stream for you guys.
Right, I'm going to have a look at what ramp rate's coming out as. It might just... Right, so... I'm looking at just the ramp rate now, which should be a constant. Wondering if that's just 0. Yeah.
John will be dealing with lots of numbers in this stream.
Yeah.
That's how you do difficulties with numbers.
Numbers. This is numbers stream now. You know what? It's not set to ramp, is it?
Is that the problem?
Yeah, that's what the issue is. Okay. John, stop trying to bug fix things.
Yeah, Dwight, when we do finally release it, we'll announce it well ahead of time, don't worry. And we probably will do a release stream when that happens, but we will, it'll be scheduled and it's not going to just pop up randomly.
Okay, so now I'm making it doesn't matter what that's set to. It should, and then I want. Actually, I'll stay looking at ramp rate for now. But but when I did the game setup several days ago, it will have been set to probably ramp with spikes, to be honest. So that's the issue. Okay, there we go. We've got a ramp rate now. So now instead, let's look at the difficulty value. And that should be slowly increasing by a very small amount. Although I should probably, for the sake of testing these, make it a lot shorter time. Maybe we can test it over the course of 3 minutes. I mean, I don't need to test ramp over the course of 3 minutes, because ramp's just going to be obvious.
Hawk likes watching people program. Devil Kitten says watches their mum program. She's a website builder. John does a bit of that at the moment at his day job.
Oh, website building. Yeah.
But hopefully, those days will be long in the past soon. Well, they will. You've already handed your notice in.
You say that, but I've still got to develop the webs
For this game.
Yeah,
and for the company.
Yeah, I did all of that.
Keep up the great work. Oh, it's Dad's Gaming Addiction.
Oh, great.
Cheers, DJ. Thanks for dropping by.
Yeah, thanks for streaming us.
Yeah. He's streamed a lot of Empires of the Undergrowth as DGA.
That's not increasing still. So we've got a value, but that's not increasing. But that might well be just because it's increasing so small that it's not affecting that decimal point yet. So I will do what I did before, which is to get a random float in. Right, so this is as if the game lasted 3 minutes. We'll work with that for now. So we should see quite an instant increase in that difficulty value.
There's a later mechanic. Will the player be able to move the queen? I find it annoying sometimes in the former carry have the queen so close to the entrance. She's there for a reason. If we just let you move her right to the back and hide her, then the game becomes exponentially easier. And since she's the dungeon heart, the game is Dungeon Keeper inspired, by the way. She fills that role, so you have to protect her. That's why she's not mobile. The game becomes different in lots of ways and unbalanced if we let you move the queen.
So what have I done? What have I done? Why is that value not increasing? Okay, difficulty value. Ramp rate.
Yeah, the queen's far too important to move. She's just sat on a throne, being diligently attended to by her workers. Thanks for making me late for work. Cheers, Polsman. Yeah, hope you don't get in trouble.
My maths is wrong. Maths is wrong. Okay, so 0.05. Yeah, that looks about right. 3-minute game. What we want is for every second for it to increase by that amount.
Got a coffee or anything,
Just a decaf.
Yeah.
It's not even. Oh, God's sake! Right, it's exactly the same issue here. It's that the game isn't set to ramp. And it isn't. And whilst I'm testing, I'm not going to bother setting it to ramp. I'm just going to make it so whatever setting I have it on, it's doing what I expect from ramp. Okay. The joys, the joys. Okay, now it'll be increasing. Although I don't think I've actually got it set to print out that value. So we're just going to get the amount it should be increasing by again. Yeah. It's alright. What I'm going to do is here, it's setting the difficulty type. Instead of actually setting the difficulty type, I'm just going to set it manually underneath to override it. So I don't forget to do that. But I'm going to put a comment around it. To do, remove okay, so it's not the ramp rate I want to look at now, it's the difficulty value. So over the course of 3 minutes, this should go from 60 4% or whatever it's currently set to 164%. So there we go. We're going up 66, 67%, 68, 69, 70. Yeah. Okay, so that will tick up to our maximum at 3 minutes at the moment. So what we want to do next, it's one of the others, I guess, because that's ramp done. That is the obviously I need to make the difficulty actually have an effect on things, but I'll do that afterwards. At the minute, I'm just working on these various values. So that's ramp. That's constant. So that's 2 of them done. Now spikes. Spikes is going to be constant, but a spike value. So what we want is we're going to want every X amount of time it to roll a dice and decide whether it's going to spike. If it decides it's going to spike, it needs to roll another dice and decide how much it spikes by. So a couple of dice rolls here. I'm just gonna. This is ramp.
Will you add Steam Workshop support? Perhaps in the future, yeah. Low priority, but maybe. Will there be plans to add maybe a giant ant that's a tank? The next ants we're adding are leaf cutters. Their mages are huge, so they're very tanky, and that's very much the approach we're having when we're designing them. Is there going to be multiplayer? Again, perhaps low priority. Lots of work to make multiplayer work. We are multiplayer gamers ourselves, but we really want to perfect the single player experience.
We can't commit to that because it's a lot of work.
Exactly, we can't. And we are making a single player game, the game that we want to play, really. Right. Seen too many games stuck on multiplayer as an afterthought. I'd much rather focus on single player. Totally. I mean, did anyone really need Doom 2016 to have multiplayer? It's just another deathmatch.
Yeah.
With loot boxes.
Have they got loot boxes in it?
I haven't played much of it, maybe. You certainly unlock weapons. So in Freeplay mode, will you be able to play as multiple different species? You'll have the choice. You'll have the choice to either play as Formicroraptor, one of your Formicarium colonies, and obviously all of the options that they have, you've unlocked it for them. Or you'll be able to choose to play as a specific species, say for instance, wood ants. So, and if you play just as wood ants, you'll get the wood ants, the 3 castes that we have for wood ants, which are the workers, melee soldiers, and acid firers. So it's up to you. If you want to start as one species, you can, or if you want to play as our fictional Formicroraptor, you can.
I'm trying to think. How often do you think we should? Maybe every minute it has a look at it rolls the dice for spikes.
Well, it should maybe every minute, yes, but it should be quite a low chance. Every minute.
Yeah. And then okay.
It'd be a case of testing it, I think.
So, all these values will change. But,
As leaf cutters, do you plan on adding fungal farming? It wouldn't really be worth doing leaf cutters if we didn't, would it? Yeah. So of course, that's how the leaf cutters will get their sustenance. They'll cut leaves and grow fungus.
Custom events. So every 60 seconds, it's going to do a roll of the dice. So on constant, I want to save the on constant or on spikes really. This is ramp.
So is this game made in Blueprints or C++?
Both.
The guys, John said he love using Blueprints to really quickly visualize something. But C++, you've often had to dig into the source code of Unreal Engine, haven't you?
Yeah.
For this game.
A lot of the efficiency savings are made can be made by playing around. Well, not changing the source code. What you do is you extend bits of the source code and change the certain functions of those. All our avoidance in the game, Unreal has built-in avoidance, but it wasn't really fit for purpose for the scale that we needed it. So we did our whole.
You gutted that out and did it yourself.
Well, we didn't gut it as such. We turned it off.
Yeah.
And,
disabled it and did your own way of doing it.
Yeah.
So how exactly is farming going to work? It's kind of spoilers. I don't think we should discuss that just now.
At the same time, there's lots of changes that are coming during our development process of that. So we can't.
Yeah, development isn't just, well, at least in our case, because we're not a AAA studio. We don't say this is the plan, let's do it. This is what we do, and as we do it, we think of new things, or things
change as you realise certain things don't work as you expected. Yeah, some things work better than you expected.
But closer to the release of Leaf Cutters in a few months' time, we'll certainly be teasing bits about them. Yeah, you'll see them. When we get the animation sorted and when we nail down the farming mechanics, we'll do a little bit of teasing, but we don't want to spoil too much for you, obviously.
Okay, so on constant. I'm going to set a new variable. Actually, I don't need to set it on constant because constant never changes, but it does change on spikes. So the constant difficulty on spikes needs to be set.
What about Weaver Ants? They could have a range attack that slows enemies down. There's already a range attack that slows enemies down, actually. If you have the level 3 rapid fire Wood Ants, then they, in your Formicarium, they gain that ability. That slows enemies down. Level 3 Wood Ants are very powerful in general.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You said adding grasshoppers as new enemies to the game. Sure. There's loads of different mini beasts we can add. We haven't decided exactly what the next group of creepy crawlies along with the ants will be. But there's lots of them out there, and we're definitely going to have to add new ones. So yeah, we'll nail that down. As we move forward with developing the new levels. But sure, there's going to be new stuff coming in.
Right. So what? With this dice roll, then, how many times per minute do we expect this to trigger?
You said once per minute to roll the dice for a spike, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, how often do you expect it to actually trigger?
Say once every 10 minutes. So I'd say a very simple one. Your dice roll is a 1 in 10 chance once a minute. That makes sense to me. Yeah. So roughly, on average, once every 10 minutes, there'll be a spike in difficulty, which is enough time to recover from it and rebuild if necessary until the next one. Praying Mantis would be awesome. I agree. I'd personally love to see Praying Mantis in there, but I'm not the developer. I think they're very cool looking insects.
0 max minus 1.
Termites will be in there eventually. They're planned for some of the levels in the Formicarium wild missions. Yeah, we will have termites in the game. They were a Kickstarter stretch goal, which was reached. So yeah, definitely will be.
Okay, so I've got the dice roll there, which will be a value between 0 and 9. If it's 0, then we spike. So it's 0. We spike to a random difficulty from the constant difficulty to the constant difficulty plus 1. So what I want is a random float here. And because it's actually a random float actually gives a value between 0 and 1. So I can just use the standard random float to do it. So what I want to do is set difficulty. So difficulty value to constant difficulty plus this random value.
I feel of all the streams we've done this week, John, this is the one where you're going to get most annoyed by me talking while you're trying to think of something in your brain.
In my brain.
Make my brain hurt.
My brain hurts.
Could you make it so defeated enemy ants can be harvested for a small amount of food? No, for practical reasons, firstly and foremost. And secondly, not many ants are cannibals.
It's balance. It's for balance reasons. It makes it very difficult to balance if everything you're killing is giving you food.
Yeah, if you imagine you kill a bunch of enemy ants, you get food from them. Fighting becomes a good thing.
Yeah, Or being attacked becomes a good thing.
Being attacked becomes a good thing because there's food everywhere. So and like I said earlier, this is something we are going to have to think about in free play mode. If a player gets a really strong colony, then being attacked by stuff is just going to give them more food. So we have to think about it.
All right, so Spike Dice Roll is going to change it. How long should it be changed for? It should probably be random again because it's Spike.
Buff enemy ants to balance. No, I think one of the guy's design kind of philosophies going off with an enemy black ant will be the same power as your black ant if it's upgraded. So
we don't want to.
We don't want to add an arbitrary multiplier of difficulty.
We want you to be able to understand what you're attacking. When each time it attacks, that's why we don't. For example, in harder difficulties, we don't give enemies higher attack.
Yeah.
We instead we instead increase the number of enemies so you can visually get an idea of what you're fighting.
Yeah. So when you play New Home on insane mode and you're suddenly attacked by 5 Devil's Coach Horse adults, you know that that's what the threat is, as opposed to 2 Devil's Coach Horse that we've made 3 times more difficult. That's the point there.
You'd be confused at why you were losing.
Yeah.
With 20 ants. Okay, so that's the random dice roll. Add another float. I need to organise these floats in a minute because there's loads of them. Spike timer. So spike timer is going to... Oh no, I don't need to do that actually. What I'll do... Come on, stop deleting the name and delete the variable. There we are. What I'll do is I'll have it so it's going to set a timer by function name. I can do it by event as well. It's probably a bit neater to do this by function though. I'll call it spike off. So the amount of time the spike runs for, again, random floating range.
Suggestion in the jungle area when it comes, a landmark where fruit can fall to the ground that your ants can harvest. Sure,
a landmark where, a large item of fruit.
Yeah, it makes sense in the jungle.
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, we've got the fish on kind of the beach area.
I mean, it'd be nice if we could have something like coconut on the beach or something like that.
That would be huge.
Yeah, but how would the ants get into it actually?
It'd have to be pre-opened. Yeah. You've had a coconut crab come and pre-open it, and then I think you said something about you'll have to get Matt to do something like a poppy seed head.
Yeah.
Desiccated poppy seed heads, which are quite beautiful things actually. You see them in potpourri all the time, and decorations. But they rattle in the wind, and seeds drop down. So that could be could appear on a landmark, couldn't it? Something like that.
Yeah, seed spawner is one of the ones I have down as an initial one.
It's going to be one of the few art assets that we make for Freeplay mode, probably.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Well, it might work its way into campaign.
Absolutely. Poppies are quite widespread.
Yeah. Spike off. So I just had a function called spike off.
But if the ants are under it when it falls, they die.
Yeah, you could do.
Sure. Do you know several people here are killed by coconuts falling?
God, that'd be depressing.
You wouldn't have it put on your gravestone, would you?
His nut was not as strong as a coconut. Right, so spike off is just going to turn. It's going to set difficulty value to constant difficulty. So it just sets that back down to constant difficulty.
Are there plans to be able to
do.
invade enemy colonies?
Yep.
Yes, absolutely, totally. In fact, it's already kind of in the game.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of it's implemented already.
Yeah, and in fact, the build that we took to EGX Race back in April of last year, you could do that.
Mm-hmm.
It was just not needed for the current campaign levels to be able to enter an enemy nest.
Because we want to rework some of the mechanics in there as well.
It wasn't perfect, but totally, it's entirely planned. Yes, entering an enemy nest, killing the queen, you know, as an objective, is certainly going to be a thing at some point.
Okay, so that'll turn the spike off at a random amount of time between 60 and 180 seconds. If another spike happens in the meantime, that should override that. So that should be that. I think that should be that. Why does it go up there?
Fun fact: for people who just like a bit of trivia about the game, the colonies on 2.2 Queen of the Hill are proper colonies. The way they send their units out is scripted to go with the rise and fall and the way the level's designed, but they do have their own undergrounds and colonies set up there. They're just hidden, but they are there.
Fun fact. Right, so that's spikes. Ramp with spikes is a mix of the above and below. So what we can actually do
Hidden, are they findable? No, yeah, I think we changed it, didn't? Yeah, Julie, you can't. We changed it so you can't click on them and look in there.
Yeah, you can't.
At one point you could, but I think that was a mistake.
Yeah.
It would just confuse people, I think.
Okay, so in ramp with spikes.
Yeah, Andrew, it's simply because it was unnecessary for that level, but coming in the future, definitely you'll be able to enter nests and kill enemy queens. False rulers.
So I'm trying to work out if there's any way of me reusing this rather than just redoing it. 60 seconds looping.
Carry on, John. Could you add large pieces of food like corpses of large creatures or fish? You could make a bunch of ants carry to a colony. You're thinking kind of it more in a Pikmin style way, aren't you? I mean, to be fair, it's quite anti-behaviour for several ants to drag a large piece of food into their nest. It just that kind of thing would need a real rewrite of our swarming kind of algorithms, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So it would be a nice visual feature. We absolutely agree, but there's other things to be doing.
Yeah.
Is the point? But it would be nice. You're totally right.
Right. I've just thought this is wrong. This bit because this only needs to happen at the beginning, and it's currently happening on every tick, which it doesn't need to do. So that needs to come with me down to the spikes bit here. Okay, so here...
Yes, you can harvest the fish that's there on Queen of the Hill. It's just really tough to do so because, you know, all of the enemies in the way. But it is possible, totally.
So what I want, actually, is constant difficulty to change when you've got it set to spikes. So rather than it changing difficulty value here... No, it needs to know when a spike's in progress, so it doesn't update it. Or no, when a spike's... so difficulty value needs to be... You know what, I might just make a variable. Here, so I haven't got delta time all over the place. Just to neaten it up a bit. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so when it's on ramp with spikes, difficulty value needs to be difficulty value plus the ramp change plus... No, it doesn't...
Where von you speak nochmal Deutsch? I think that's which of you speaks German.
He's not here.
Matt, he isn't here. But I realise because you're writing that in German, you probably don't speak English. Yeah, but my German's very bad, so yeah. I'm not going to attempt to.
You're not going to embarrass yourself.
No.
Okay, so here before we had the previous difficulty value, but that's not necessarily true because of the spikes. The way the spikes work, that won't work. So there needs to be a ramp difficulty.
Queen of the Hill is my favourite mission, most expansive and well designed in my opinion. It's cool that people think that.
I think Queen of the Hill's my favourite as well. I know Mike likes...
mine is 2-1. Rising Tide is my favourite.
But I actually prefer Queen of the Hill. I think the good thing about Queen of the Hill is you've always got to be doing something to do it well. Rising Tide, you kind of have lulls and you don't have to do things constantly. But in Queen of the Hill, you're constantly moving your groups around and whatnot. Ramp difficulty. Okay, so rather than it being a difficulty value plus so this is previous ramp difficulty plus the new change in ramp difficulty plus spike difficulty.
Really like the Bastion style narration myself. Really immerses you.
The Bastion.
The
Bastion.
You've played Bastion.
Yeah. Great game.
Yeah. The kind of way back in the time we were thinking we were going to do an Attenborough kind of voice. Mm-hmm. In fact, some of our early trailers, the Queen has landed. It was very much that. Mm-hmm. But as much as copyright issues potentially being a thing, it seemed a bit cheesy, really, didn't it?
Yeah.
It was the main thing.
Unless we could actually get David Attenborough.
Unless we could have actually got him, but let's be honest, the guy's probably got better things to be doing, no matter how much money we offered him. Like making incredible, amazing documentaries that we all love. Yeah, we'd rather he be doing that. But I think Liam became really enamoured with the idea. He watched some documentaries that were narrated by Andy Serkis, I think. Mm-hmm. That's right. And Andy Serkis, when he does his documentaries, he's very, serious. Mm-hmm. Whereas Attenborough's a little bit whimsical sometimes.
Yeah.
But it fit with the style of game we were making when the art assets started to come together. So we hired a very talented chap to do that kind of Andy Serkis style serious narration, and it's worked perfectly.
Spike difficulty. Okay, no, not spike difficulty. Set ramp difficulty. Okay, so basically what I'm saying here is previous ramp difficulty plus the ramp rate change plus no, I don't need it, plus the spike difficulty. Delete, remove pin. Okay, so what that is doing is each one of these, it's increasing the ramp difficulty, this vehicle ramp difficulty, and now we need to set the actual difficulty.
The voice actor's a very talented guy by the name of Callum Edmonds. If you do a search for that, in fact, I'll post a link to his YouTube channel. Yeah, he does some kind of game reviews and things. I think. I'll link to his Twitch actually.
Ramp difficulty plus spike difficulty. Yeah, so there we go. Ramp difficulty plus spike difficulty. Now spike difficulty needs to be controlled by the spike.
I can't find it, but anyway, the guy's name is Callum Edmonds, and I'll write it in chat how that's spelled, so you guys can look him up if you like.
So ramp with spikes needs the ramp time calculated, and also needs this spike thing turned on. Oh, this is getting confusing even for me.
Yeah, multiplayer, we can't promise it. We've got lots to do before we start thinking about that.
Yeah,
is the answer there. But we do like multiplayer. We play multiplayer games. But for now, we've got things planned out that we need to do. Devil Kitten. When I found this game, I didn't hesitate to get it. I've always wanted to play a game where I can peer inside the nests of ants or bees, and this has done it beautifully. Thanks, Devil Kitten. Soon you'll be able to peer into other nests as well, not just your own.
I can't do the other one in a function. Can't do the other one in a function.
It took Andrew 10 attempts to do Queen of the Hill, but he did Rising Tide first time. But I appreciate the person who then thinks, actually, Queen of the Hill is my favourite level in that case, because it took me 10 times to do it. I appreciate that line of thought, people who like a challenge.
Okay, so that's setting the ramp rate, not the ramp difficulty. Right. I'm just trying to think of ways to do this, because some of them require a combination of different things. So, for example, in ramp, it needs to set the ramp rate. However, in spikes, it needs to set up this spike thing. However, it also needs to set up that spike thing in a ramp with spikes. So in ramp with spikes, it needs to set ramp rate. And also set up the spike thing. But it doesn't actually need to set the constant difficulty, because there's no constant difficulty. Now when these
insane is almost impossible on Queen of the Hill. Totally, but people have done it. Fun fact though, we haven't.
I haven't done it.
Next time I'm up and we stream together, John, maybe we sit down and try and do a map on Insane. That might be fun.
See what we've subjected everyone else to.
Yeah, well, to be honest, we probably have to watch videos of people doing it to get a hint. There are lots of people better than the game than we are. Lots of them.
Right, so the problem is this is actually setting the difficulty. Which I don't like. So rather than that actually setting the difficulty, I'm just going to make it set the spike difficulty. And then... Yeah, give me one moment. Oh, that's not right. The random float is the spike difficulty. The constant difficulty. Yeah. It's okay. I'm getting there. I'm getting my head around this.
Could you maybe in the future add a desert theme mission map with scorpions, etc.? Maybe at some point, yeah. It's not planned in the campaign, that kind of environment. But, you know, maybe as a one-off. I mean, we've kind of already got the assets to do a desert theme, haven't we? We've got sand.
Beach. Yeah.
It's coarse and rough and it's
there's a few more environments planned.
Rainforest is probably next, isn't it?
Yeah, we give you that one because we've got
leaf cutters. But we won't say anything else about what else.
What other environments are planned.
In Freeplay mode, will ants die of old age? 9 hours probably isn't long enough to die of old age, is it?
It was something I've considered actually. Maybe it's an option.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly it wouldn't take much of an adjustment to do that kind of thing, would it?
Yeah.
But you'd have
maybe an ant is born with a slightly random age timer,
and then eventually it just dies. It wouldn't be that tricky to implement, I'd have thought.
Yeah.
But you'd have to think then, does your queen have a random age death as well, where you can't just eventually, that's it,
dies off?
That'd be annoying. It's a thought. The idea here is John is hashing out the basic form of free play, and then as development continues over the next however many months or years, you'll add to it, lots to it. That's the thought. So we could totally add an option like that eventually, sure. For people who do want the more simulation route, I guess. But free play mode is going to be very custom and custom made. You'll be able to set up the initial conditions to your liking, to what kind of game you want to play. If you want to just play a casual game where your colony never dies, you can. If you want to have a real challenge where you're under constant assault, you can. If you want something in between, you can have that.
So difficulty value, set difficulty value, and so now on spikes it needs to be spike difficulty plus constant difficulty, because I removed that from the other one because I wanted to reuse it somewhere else.
For the future, do we need food to feed the ants so they do not starve? Again, that would be another thing going along with those lines, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that is something I do want to add in at some point for
upkeep. You call it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd want it as literally the ants go and eat some food from the stores, or if there's just a tick down of your food resources over time. One would be representative, the other a bit more literal.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think I want the ants to actually have a hunger value on themselves.
And maybe they're going to have a little chomp when they're...
Yeah.
In nature, adult ants, particularly with small species, require very little food, really. Certainly very little in the way of protein. It's mainly sugar, isn't it, that they subsist on. The protein is usually for the developing larvae. So the things they bring into the nest are chewed up and fed to the grubs. But they themselves don't really eat. It's more sugars for most species of ants. Idea for pre-play: would it be a pain? But maybe add different biomes to play in. Oh no, we're totally doing that.
As they come into the campaign, we'll release more maps for free play.
Yeah, what John's doing. The reason that it's an efficient development route at the moment is free play. Is that John can reuse all the assets that we've made for the campaign. So what we said earlier on, rainforest is the next environment that will be released because of leafcutter ants. So John is totally going to do some free play maps in rainforest. Absolutely.
Right. These are all going to have to be tested in some way, form. But I think that's right now. Because that's ramp difficulty plus spike difficulty. It's the current difficulty. But what I need to do is I need to turn spike difficulty to 0 when spikes when spikes are turned. I shouldn't have clicked that. It's now going to, in a few minutes, open C++.
So if the screen goes white, it's just a page of text, page of code comes up.
So spike off. So if okay, so that doesn't need to be set like that anymore. Instead, the spike difficulty just needs to be set to 0 when spikes get turned off. When the spike finishes. Okay, so how are we doing? That's how many of them? Okay, so then we've got scale with colony. Now, in order to work with scale with colony, we need to...
Here it comes. Thankfully, it didn't open on the page, so you guys can't see it.
It doesn't matter if they see it.
No, I'm just saying it's boring.
Well, some people find code interesting.
Yeah, but John has deliberately not streamed stuff where he does have to work with C++.
Well, it depends what I'm doing in C++. Again, it's auto-saving.
Right, okay, we've got a minute, I guess. Okay, will the leaf be a landmark that leaf cutters can go and cut leaves? That's a point, actually. When,
probably when we do get...
When you add leaf cutters to Freeplay mode, it makes sense for them to be, one of the landmarks. They crop up in a few places, and you have to set your trails to them. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
I mean, the thing about leaf cutter colony themselves is they don't eat anything but the fungus.
Yeah, I mean they're aggressive. They'll attack things that get in their way. They'll bite.
What it means is that if you start a free play game and one of the colonies is a leaf cutter, the game should probably recognise that and put a lot more leaves about. Or we could just have leaves when we do introduce and have a lot of leaves come about anyway.
Yep.
Yep.
So they won't be eating things that they kill.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be fighting them.
Yeah.
But just leaving the corpses. But I guess the flip side balance wise is you get leafcutter mages, which are huge and tanky and have this unique taunt ability that you're talking about.
Okay, so scale with colony, it's like ramp, but it's based on your colony size instead. Now,
is it going to be a simple head count, or is it going to be like soldiers count more than a worker does?
Probably just going to be a simple head count to start with, at least.
Hi, Blood Adept. Glad to have you back with us.
But what I'm thinking is, how do I get that information, given that it could now be any colony? Like it can't. It's not necessarily colony 0. It could be 1, 2, or 3.
Here's another idea. Might be very complicated. Make it. You can build in multiple layers. No. I think that was a very
underground.
It was a very early design choice that, for several reasons. One of which is it's an RTS rather than a simulator. First and foremost.
So you need to be able to see things quickly and react to things quickly.
You need a good overview, and also there's already plenty to be looking at with 2 mini maps, which is unusual for an RTS anyway. Yeah. And also it does make things much more complicated from a technical point of view. When it's not really necessary, I don't think.
No, we've gone down this road now.
We've thoroughly thought about it. The guys have.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the surface has multiple levels.
Yeah, there's ramps and
ramps and such.
Is there any kind of hard limit on the number of those you can have?
No.
So you could have like 7 or 8 layers if you wanted, or
yeah,
but obviously that would.
Yeah, the camera would struggle a bit there, I think.
Yeah, it's already a bit jarring when you go to the side and the camera has to suddenly jump up to figure something. That makes sense. Just figured I would ask. Please don't feel shy about asking any question. No, that's why I'm here for the most part to answer questions while John tries to work. In Freeplay mode, when you start a playthrough, will you be able to merge species like you start off wood ants, then acquire for Microerector and leaf cutters? No, probably not.
Pardon?
So like you acquire species along the way.
No, I'm not aiming for that in Freeplay.
No, the way to do that, rather than acquire them along the way, is to use one of your Formicarian colonies, which already has those species unlocked, and that's the way you'll want to do that. If anything, I'm as blunt as a baseball bat. Fair enough.
Sorry, what's that?
Oh, yep.
Okay, so right, okay. So in the game state, there is access to the soldiers that you have. So
okay, that makes sense. Clever. This is why I'm not a dev and you guys are. Anyone can be a dev, my friend. I'm not a dev. I'm not a dev. This stuff's way beyond me.
It's only beyond you because you haven't done it for...
Well, precisely, yeah. If I sat down and learned it, absolutely, and anyone can.
Just takes a few years.
Yep, simple as that. And you guys have been working on this for years now.
Yeah. Right, so I can get max soldiers by player. The issue is, I currently don't have the... At the moment, player is always colony ID 0, but soon, it's not fully introduced yet, but soon, I mean, in this map, there's like 4 different undergrounds. And the idea is that you'll be able to start in any one of these undergrounds, but doing so will change your colony ID. So basically, I need to store the player's colony ID on the game setup when the game initially gets set up. So when it makes the random dice roll for which underground you start at, it needs to go, and the player is ID.
Question: does each of these correspond to a specific entrance on the surface?
Yes, at the minute.
But is there a way to randomise that?
Yeah, I was thinking about doing that.
Just an extra level of...
Just so you don't know where you're going to come out.
Yeah, by recognising...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So at the minute I'm going to leave it with ID 0, but I'm going to put a to-do on it for when the thing comes in.
How was the audio program so that the game would select the audio file for things actively happening? Are you talking about music here?
I think he is.
Yeah, if you're talking about music, the he's not here with us today. Is Liam, who's our music guy, and he created a really clever system, which I think he calls it the conductor.
Conductor.
Yeah, and
it's funny because it's actually got an object in the world, and he gave it an image.
Yeah, so John's just bringing the conductor in.
Audio conductor. It's already in this level, but there he is.
Yep, there's the conductor. So he analyses how the game is going. I mean, I think it's relatively straightforward. Well, I want to say that. I know,
no, it's not. Actually, it's really complicated.
Liam wrote many lines of code for it, actually, didn't he? Yeah, so it has to... what it does is straightforward. It's react to the colony and decide what music to play.
It wasn't that simple because the way it works is there's multiple music tracks playing at the same time, and they're dipping in and out based on what's happening in the action. And additionally, it reacts to combat as opposed to other things, other intensity increases. So there's a couple of different things going on.
Yeah. And
a big issue with the system was trying to get all those audio files in sync. What you'll notice is as I run the game as I run the game, it will say something in the top left about them not being in sync.
You had to come up with some ways, didn't you, to...
So basically what it does is it tries to sync them up, checks whether it's worked, then tries to do it again, and it does it it normally takes it about 2 to 3 times. Sometimes it can go on, okay, because it's the purple text that appeared there, so music time, okay, so it happened to work that time. But yeah, it was actually really tricky to get all the audio files syncing up properly.
So it's not just a simple case of fade in the combat music when combat starts. I mean, there's also timing of scripted events it reacts to as well.
Yeah, so you'll notice what happens is when narrator has something to say, what will happen is the game will wait until a specific time in the music for it to start talking, which is a time before a music event, and then he'll start talking. It will know how long that audio file is, so it started it so long before there's a change in the music. So that'll happen, and then you'll notice when he finishes talking, it's at a point in the music where the music changes intensity.
My favourite one, my favourite example of this is, and I don't know how Liam timed it so well, by being Liam, because Liam's a bloody genius, as we know. It's on the first level, 1-1. You defeat your first Devil's Coach Horse Lava, and the narrator says something like, by working together, the ants have overcome. If they met the adult of this species, and then the music comes up. But probably the best example is, again, that level. The ants have encountered a pocket of woodworm, and then just like it goes, when he says "excellent meal for the butchered and carried off," and then the music comes back up, and it's
like I say, it times it to be at the right point in the music when the narrator stops speaking.
Yeah,
it wasn't a simple system for him to set up. It took him a good
I don't think
while.
It would be a simple system for anyone to set up. The thing is, as well, you can understand with a system like that. Going forward, new levels, Liam will be doing a bunch more work as well. As well as composing the music and working out, he'll be reacting to the scripted events. And I don't think he wants to reuse music as much as he can.
But he will be reusing bits of music when he can. I think the idea is that he's gonna produce one full different piece for each environment.
Yeah. So for the high points. Yeah.
Although he's already broke that because the two beach levels have very different music. Although if you notice, nighttime on 2-1, the music's similar to the underground music.
Yeah.
I think he goes back to that at nighttime.
Yeah. Which is fine.
Yeah.
But a really clever system, and one that I imagine Matt and John are glad that they're not in charge of.
Yeah.
Will Freeplay mode have its own soundtrack? Probably not.
No.
That would be a case of Liam taking that on himself if he wanted to.
It will be using the audio from the appropriate environment. So, for example, this is a beach one. I'm using the audio from Rising Tide.
It's 2-1.
Yeah. So that was my favourite beach audio.
It's I think it's my favourite as well. No. My actual favourite beach audio, yes.
Yeah.
But my actual favourite one is 1-2 is my favourite soundtrack.
Yeah, that's the spider one.
Spider one, yeah. It sounds like plucking of strings, yeah, which makes sense. Talking about the difference in sound between 2-1 and 2-2, I like as the waves come in, the da 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 da, because it feels quite climactic, and it makes sense being the last level that you play at the moment, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
But it won't be forever, obviously.
Yeah.
I've never heard a piece of music that Liam's made for this game that I thought, never once. No, he's a talented musician.
Okay, so
anything?
No, okay. So what it's gonna do is it's going to add those two values together. Okay, so I think I'm going to say max difficulty when your colony size gets to 200. I think that's a sensible final point. So what I want is a percentage. Hang on one sec. So we want it to reach its maximum difficulty at that point. So it's 200. Yeah, 200. 1 divided by 200. So yeah, we just have. So this is the setup, isn't it? So what we want to set here is similar to set ramp rate. It's another rate, but it's just not a rate to do with time. It's a rate to do with colony size. Ramp difficulty. Where's ramp rate? Okay, there we are. So we can actually be setting ramp rate with this. Which is just going to be 1 over... See, I can actually test this one really easily, actually. That seems to have gone into minus rather than divided by. There we are. So that's just going to be 1 over that. Okay, so that's yeah. So therefore, okay, so this isn't right. So RAM rate's just going to be 1 over 200. I actually need to bring this stuff over into the other thing. Sorry. To be over here, so you need to do that each tick. Ramp rate is actually just going to be 1 over 200, although I should probably turn that into a variable so I don't forget about it. It's not actually a physical max colony size limit, but it's the point at which you'll be working at 100% difficulty. And that comment no longer makes any sense. I will test this one as well. I know I've not been testing the others, but that's because they're not so simple to test without a long testing period. But this one should be dead easy to test.
Could you add a luring mechanic for when you fight other ant colonies to kill other queens like bait? And lure, say, a group of Devil's Coach Horse beetles to enemy to colony to sabotage enemy colony. You could probably do that in a way. Anyway, you could turn off combat.
Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah.
I mean,
turn off combat, get a group of enemies to chase you into an enemy nest, and then they'll start fighting everything, I'd have thought.
Yeah. Well, actually, there's a consideration there, because chasing into a nest isn't actually a thing yet.
It might be, though.
Yeah, I'd need to think about that. I mean, for example, now, if your ants are running away from something and you go into your nest, it doesn't follow. Things have to make a conscious decision to go into your nest.
Either scripted or just randomly.
Yeah, in the missions it's all scripted, but there is a way for them to do it.
You could set it to just all of a sudden, you know what, I fancy entering that ant nest, and then...
Well, that's the swarm points. That's actually what they do. They make decisions based on what they're set up to do, whether they're set up to be aggressive, passive, and that changes the weighting of what decisions they make.
Speaking of music, is the soundtrack available for purchase, download somewhere? When the full game's done, we'll absolutely be releasing the soundtrack.
Everyone will put it up on Steam.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be on Steam, and we could probably put it on various other platforms as well.
Yeah, we'll see.
Bandcamp and such like. But
Liam will have to do because the music is changes with the with the action. He'll have to do a cut that is just a musical piece rather than
which he can do.
Yeah.
Some of it is up on his SoundCloud. Yeah, Jeff Nevington. Look on that SoundCloud account. I'll link it in chat in a minute. But yeah, some of it, but not all of it, is up on there. The friendly spider one is up on there. This game makes me want to get an ant farm in real life. That's awesome. That's awesome. Do it. Apparently, it's quite an easy, rewarding hobby, according to ant keepers. But then again,
They are ant keepers.
they are ant keepers. Too irresponsible to have one. Apparently, the small native species like Formica fusca or Lasius niger are really straightforward to keep. There's lots of information online. I'm sure a quick search will get you started. You don't need much.
I mean, you probably don't want anything that's not native.
Yeah, definitely don't do that. You don't want to go upsetting ecosystems or break the law. You have to remember that. Yeah, the invasive species is a thing.
But if you can catch one in your local area.
Bull ants actually sometimes drop junk on neighbouring nests. Yeah, lots of ants do that. They have little wars whereby it must really annoy them. They wake up in the morning and their nest has been blocked by ants that are nocturnal.
Yep.
And so then they get their revenge by blocking their nest, and it just goes on forever. But they never actually meet.
Yeah.
Because one's nocturnal and the other isn't. Yeah, that's totally a thing.
Okay, so that's the maximum amount of units you have. Then we have ramp. Come on, ramp.
Will you eventually be able to play as slave maker ants? Not currently planned, but never say never. Yeah, they don't need feeding much apparently. Yeah, ants are really easy to keep, particularly if you've got a small colony. I don't necessarily want an ant farm. I just want a 24/7 live stream of a formicarium. You know what? Why has Ants Canada not done that?
Yeah.
Surely you could do that. Probably because the ants escape so often. He's always trying to get them back in.
Okay, so ramp difficulty's not right. It was actually ramp rate that I need to get. So that's ramp rate multiplied by your colony size. And then that needs to be just like set difficulty. That should be that. God knows. Because that's scale with colony. I'm just going to set it to scale with colony. Here.
Okay, so I've just linked you guys to Liam's SoundCloud account where you can see some of the stuff. You know, like my favourite one, Friendly Spider. Yeah. So yeah, some of the stuff is on there, and you can. I think Liam set most of it to download, so he's not really that bothered if you want to download it and use it as a ringtone like I do.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, these aren't the final mastered versions. These won't be the versions of it that do make it into the official soundtrack eventually. Then we're doing another cut for that. Okay. Get max soldiers by. Okay, so yeah, like I say, that should be done theoretically. So if I turn the cheats on, we should be able to see auto spawn eggs, instant mature edge, infinite resources, instant build. Okay, so we should be able to see the difficulty going up as the colony size increases, and when it gets to 200, it should be at roughly 1.6.
You're having a little live readout at the moment of current difficulty setting.
Yeah.
I imagine this will be a hidden thing from the player. The player will not see.
Oh, 0.35. Oh, hang on, what's being printed there? Oh no, that's right. It shouldn't be increasing.
Ants Canada, he's tweeted about us before, guys. By the way, I think he's fully aware of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's have a.
I mean, to be, he's probably unlikely to plug us for free. Let's put it that way. So I don't think just pestering him about us will get us a free plug. What John's doing at the moment, by the way, is cheating horribly. He's enabled some dev cheats just to give him infinite.
Or cheating brilliantly.
Cheating smartly.
Okay, so I want to reach 200. I mean, the game will probably be crawling at that point because it's got everything going on at the minute. But at 200, that should be...
Increase.
Yeah.
Someone said you need a bigger brush for painting out tiles. To be honest, it's only an issue when you're cheating. When you're playing the game normally. What's that? Fail to...
Project, it's alright.
Yeah, I do like the feeling of painting out like upgrades and such like. It is good.
That's interesting. Fail to protect is coming up a lot.
The higher you get.
I need to look into that. It's gone. Oh, it's back.
In the future, you could have enemy ants instead try and kill your queen. Have raiding parties to steal your food stores. There's lots of species that have relationships like that, aren't they? Where instead of wiping out an enemy, they just use them as a food source. So yeah, we could totally do something like that in the future.
Right. I have a suspicion that at 200 this is going to reach 1, and it's probably because I haven't taken the initial value into account. That'll be exactly what the issue is. But that's easy enough to solve. So I'm getting close to 200 now. Like, I'm going to build 2 more workers so I can see. So I've got a nice round number on the workers. So yeah, this is definitely yeah, okay. Right, so I just haven't taken the initial value of difficulty into account here. That's the only issue here. So it'll be down here where difficulty gets set. So it's the ramp rate times that, but also plus some initial difficulty value, which is constant difficulty, I guess. So yeah, constant difficulty needs setting, and that needs to be taken into account. So constant difficulty in this case is just going to be the initial value of the difficulty. Other than that, though, that is definitely working. So the only one I haven't done is random,
which is going to be all over the place.
All over the shop. It's going to be basically like spikes, but it'll always spike.
Yeah.
Well, it will spike and then stay there, and then spike and then stay there.
There's no ramp, it'll just...
Yeah. But like people said, it might be worth having a setup time, just in case it does go to some ridiculous difficulty. Constant difficulty. Okay, that should be that. What's that? Scale with colony. Right, nipple back in a moment, guys. We've got about 20 minutes left of the stream.
Yeah. in the air.
I imagine that sounds horrendously tinny. Right. So what was I doing?
Yeah, that was Liam's Antin-Borough dubstep remix, by the way, of Attenborough, which is on that SoundCloud account that I linked earlier, so have a look at that. Makes great driving music, I find.
Okay, so random. Random it basically needs something very similar to this. But it doesn't set a spike value. Instead just sets the value. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so this shouldn't take me a minute. So this is going to be...
Yeah, it auto-saved while you were...
That's fine.
Yeah, I thought I might stop it, but...
If it had time to do it, I may as well let it do it. The issue with the autosave, it just constantly saves the level, which I haven't made any changes to anyway. So great, thanks. Okay, so the only thing to take into account with this, so random should probably be a lot more frequent. So maybe every 3 minutes it changes. So you probably want a dice roll of...
You want a D3?
A D3, yeah. So that's 0, 1 or 2. What it's going to do, it's not going to set any spike difficulty. It's going to set the difficulty.
Thanks for joining us, Andrew. See you next time. Hades Immortality, Hades Immortal Army. Cheers for joining us. Blood of Death, thanks for joining us. Yep, hope to see you guys in the next one. Which will probably be late next week or the week after, depending on, It'll be John himself next time, by himself, yeah.
John himself?
Yeah, John by himself, I should say. Yeah, because I'm going home today. I'm going home to see my dog that I miss.
Now go home. Okay, so so the constant value needs to be set with this. The constant difficulty. It's getting a bit messy, so I'm going to need to do a tidy up session of this at some point. Comment things properly. Right, so oh no, it doesn't need to be set there. It needs to be set there or there. This one's not going to be difficult to do. So the constant difficulty just needs to be the initial difficulty value. You know, I've used that difficulty value all over the place, but I could just grab it because this is just... This will just neaten it a bit. There we go, now I haven't got wires going everywhere. And again here.
Yeah, I always got some pleasure in tidying up a node tree, just rearranging it and feng shuiing it a bit.
Yeah.
Always good fun. Well, I don't know about good fun, but you get the same satisfaction that you get of, cleaning the kitchen.
Yeah. Okay, so I just want to do... so it takes the constant difficulty, adds that to a random value, and then you end up with your difficulty value. So that should be that. So on average every 3 minutes that should change. In fact, I can change this to 2 seconds so it changes really quite rapidly, just so we can get a feel for it. Okay, so here we should see the difficulty just kind of be one thing, and then a couple of seconds later it should be another. Yeah. 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 I think we successfully made a random difficulty. Obviously, it shouldn't be making those decisions that fast. It should be quite a lot slower than that. So I'll put it back down to a minute. But yeah, there we've got a random difficulty as well. So ramp with spikes sets a ramp rate. Yeah, that's fine. But it doesn't need to set a constant difficulty because it's setting a ramp. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So yeah, I think here we have the basic. Well, yeah, I'll probably need to tweak stuff as time goes on, but that's the basics of a difficulty value that can be anywhere from your initial value to plus 100%. In fact, on things like ramp, that actually should just keep going. So after the timer, it should still keep increasing just at the same rate. I think that's fine. I'm gonna have to take these right. So next, what I'm gonna have to do, I might make a start on this now just to see it a bit in action, but to be honest, it's going to be difficult to see this instantly. I think you'd have to play a game to properly see this, because what'll happen is that difficulty value will be used in the Freeplay director making decisions. And it's got decisions like whether to spawn another pack of enemies, whether to additionally things like the landmarks, so the aphids, the amount of ladybirds that are eating the aphids can be influenced by that decision. Hold on 1 second. Pardon me. Excuse me. And various other bits and bobs. Additionally, the way that the creature packs work, so if I look at how the creatures spawn, one of the things you decide is what temperament you want the swarm to have, and that affects the behaviour. So if you give a swarm an aggressive temperament, they're much more likely to attack the player. Passive means they just walk around, they don't have any agenda. Neutral is they have a chance of attacking player, they have a chance of wandering to nearby food, they have a chance of just wandering randomly. Aggressive, high chance of attacking the player. There's various other bits and bobs as well. But so yeah, the difficulty will also affect what the swarm's behaviour is. So if you've got a group of 2 or 3 tiger beetles, maybe if you were on a low difficulty at the time they were spawned, they'll be spawned with a neutral difficulty, with a neutral temperament. But if the value's quite high, if it's close to 1 or above, again these will be based off weighted decisions. So I want to do a bit of C++ coding to make those decisions, because it would be neaten it up a lot. But basically, as the difficulty goes up, the decisions the decision to spawn, for example, an aggressive pack of creatures is much more likely. so it adds to that weighting. So yeah, I don't want to start anything else because we're coming to the end of the stream.
Yeah. I think now's a good time to, if anyone's got any burning questions that you've for some reason been holding off on, get them in now.
I'll just have a.
Yeah, we're at the point in the stream
Play
where,
around.
where people are just doing things like talking about their pets in the chat.
Yeah.
You know.
Mhm.
Yeah. I have one dog. He's called Tesla, and he's a whippet, who was a rescue. I'm a big fan of rescuing. If you get a dog, would you have a rescue?
Yeah, I'd definitely get a rescue. They're in need of.
There are lots of animals in
Homes.
need of a good home. There's no need to go to a breeder and pay lots of money.
Yeah, well, some people want certain breeds with certain temperaments, and it's fair enough. Certain things work for some people. But if you can get a rescue, get a rescue. I think it's the.
Yeah, is the thing there. Right. Okay. I think the questions tend to get asked towards the start of the stream, and then as we get here, the people who are still hanging out have asked what they want to.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're there's no point in John starting anything else now with just 5 minutes. So something that did come up on the Steam forums actually. Just want to be clear on it. John doesn't just develop this game mode on stream.
Mm-hmm.
Someone did ask, is John just developing it on stream? No. He does a lot of stuff off stream, but he likes to show some exciting bits on stream, so you guys can, have an idea of how things are progressing. We'll still carry on. John will still stream every so often. Not anywhere near as regularly as this week. This week has been a bit of an exception, because John had some annual leave to use up, and I happen to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I've been able to wrangle the chat for him so he can knuckle down to some work. I think you've had a productive week, haven't you?
Yeah,
You've got plenty done.
Most of what I've done, I'll need to look at again. You never get anything right first.
No. And obviously, problems will crop up that you didn't spot the first time and such like, but
It's not letting me put down markers on top of the spider webs. That'll be because
you put it right next to
the
it.
spider. Yeah, it's because the spider web object's blocking something it shouldn't be. So that's something.
Yeah,
I've
that's
got to
something you
fix.
didn't spot before. Yep. Cheers, Bro Gamer, for the bros. Wishes us good luck on the game.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We need to get this. It's not an easy one to shoot, actually. Oh, we got it. Not too bad.
Are you going to allow them to just run it out from any angle?
Yeah. Maybe.
It's a difficult
I
one
don't
to
know.
do, I guess.
Yeah, in the missions we had them pre-set up in certain locations, so it's a bit easier. Gosh, look at this. It's a zillion beach tiger beetles. And some very poisoned crabs.
Yeah, well, most development is done off stream anyway. Of course it is. Of course it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, but obviously we want to reassure people. I imagine that person assumed so anyway, but was just worried about,
Mhm.
'cause, people have nagging doubts. I've dropped $20 on this project. Are they only doing a couple of hours a week? Or no, of course not. But we understand the concern. It probably wasn't out of stupidity, just out of mild anxiety. I'd have thought that question. Yeah, right now John is working on the project kind of a couple of days a week.
Officially a couple of days.
Officially a couple of days, but obviously.
Actually.
Actually a lot more than that. But
as much time as I can grasp.
Yeah, here and there. But soon he's going to become. Soon he'll be a full time. In a couple of months' time, he'll be full time on the project, and that's down to you lot who have bought the game and supported us.
Some quite big packs of tiger beetles.
Do tiger beetles have mates, as in friends?
I don't think they're that complicated. They're certainly not a colony.
No. A lot of it feels though just because of the pack sizes you've got set up.
Yeah.
So it'll all be adjusted.
Yeah.
Right, we're coming up to half past now, John. Probably time to do our sign off.
Yeah. Right. Great diagram from the beginning. All right. So yes, it's been a good week.
Yeah.
Thanks for those that have joined us repeatedly as well.
Yeah, lots of repeat faces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which has been nice seeing. Lots of new people that I've not spoken to before, which is wonderful.
So yeah, thanks very much for joining us. I'm gonna continue to do streams probably once a week. Most likely Thursday afternoons. So about sometime between 12 and 2 starting on a Thursday, UK time. I'll do a few hours on live on stream a week, so which will allow you to see what progress has been made with it. Hopefully, we should have the basic version to you next month. After we've run it by our testers. So yeah. So
what's our time zone? GMT. We're in the UK, so yeah, work it out from that. Okay.
Look for London time.
Yeah, London time. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see you again soon.
See you probably next Thursday.